Hi, have you always wanted to get into farming but just didn't know where to start? Well, don't worry, because private property's got you. My name is Mbali Nwoko, and I am a farmer, and I'll be bringing you a fresh new farming series brought to you by Private Property every Tuesdays and Thursdays, where we discuss all things farming related. I'm talking where to find land, what infrastructure to invest in, even help you decide which crop to grow. You name it. You don't want to miss this. So be sure to catch the first episode premiere of the Private Property Farming Podcast with me on Tuesday, 6th of October, 1 p.m. See you there. And also, please feel free to share, comment, like the video, and also tell us about your favorite episodes that you have had or enjoyed right here on the Farming Podcast. But firstly, to get the important stuff in, I just want to mention that we have the Real Estate Industry Summit brought to you by Private Property in partnership with ABSA, which is taking place on the 29th of October. So for all the private for all your property lovers, this is a wonderful opportunity to expand your real estate knowledge and expertise and hear some of the most influential players in the property sector. So this is a virtual event, so be sure to tune on into Facebook on the 29th of October from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The link to the event will be in the comment section, and also you can get further details on our website. And the details are also available on the show description, or you could visit www.realestateindustrysummit.co.za. And so, like I said, you are joining us for a very special episode, which is episode 100 of the Private Property Farming Podcast. And just to think back, the Farming Podcast, started out as a mere idea. And I remember I was quite nervous on the first episode because we weren't sure, how you at home would consume this content around farming and how you'd respond to the information that's provided. And I remember the first episode was around finding land, because that was one of the most frequently asked questions when we started this podcast. And also remember that we started in the midst of lockdown in the global pandemic. So it's been quite a journey, and we're happy to know that the show has progressed, and we've got a bit of engagement, we've got a lot of likes, we've got a lot of interest from people wanting to know more. And as a person, I definitely grew more confident in sharing my journey as a farmer, speaking to guests week in, week out, and knowing that people really do care about agriculture and farming, and people want to know a lot more information. And like I said, we got more likes, we got more traction, and I think we've gained quite a good momentum to where we are right now. Again, this is episode 100. I love that the show has become more dynamic, and that we get to share stories and journeys from various farmers, from various professionals across the industry with many walks of life. And it's become such a collaborative platform and an informative space that I could not have asked for anything better. Just remember that we do have a competition running called Know Your Crop. It is still on, and tonight 2 people will walk away with 500 Rand cash prize each. So in order to stand a chance to win, or you have to share this specific live video and comment on any crops or health benefits you may that you may have, and we will select the winner at the end of the show. Basically, so know your crop competition, you're winning 500 Rand, and how you stand a chance to win is to share this specific live video and comment on this specific live video about any crop or health benefits that you know of, and we'll definitely announce your name. So the team in the back end will be looking out for all your comments and for all your engagement behind the scenes, and we'll announce your name if you are the winner. So, just to start off with, before we introduce our guest, I want to mention that I'll be sharing 3 of my top favorite moments from the Conversations on the Farming podcast. And the one that I could think of, which is the first, the top 3, the third one in the list, is one that we recently had, and it's episode 97, where we've had the topic was Wagyu beef farming, and we've had 2 young entrepreneurs, 2 gentlemen by the name of Devin Wells and Henning Klopper, who told us about their Wagyu beef farming business. What particularly stood out for me is that, you know, they started this business in the global pandemic. They pretty much innovated and transformed their parents' farms, which are both livestock farmers, and they put an online element into this farming activity where they predominantly focus in livestock. So what they're selling is Wagyu beef online, and you know, they've grown immensely. They've got a number of orders. I think they've reached their target and are really going much further, you know, in terms of the goals that they want to reach in getting more customers across each province. And you know, they've got good partnerships that they've connected with, and they're getting a lot more orders. And what's special about their business is that they're selling Wagyu beef, which is a premium product. And I like how they explained the process of you know, taking the cattle into the abattoir and what goes behind that meat production process before it gets delivered to your door. And another sweet spot in their business is that, you know, they are able to give you a recipe on how to cook Wagyu beef so that it tastes succulent and sweet, and that you enjoy your meal, you know, because it is quite a niche beef variety that they have going. So check out Devin Wells and Henning Klopper on episode 97, which is Wagyu beef farming. Let's get on to today's guest, and his name is Dawie Visser, who's not a stranger onto the show, and he's currently working as an Agri Specialist Consultant. Dawie is running 2 projects, one in Ermelo, which is a grain farm and a cattle farm, and another one in Komatipoort, which specializes in vegetable and citrus farming. Dawie, thank you so much for having you back. How are you doing?
Mbali, yes, good evening. Thanks for having me again.
It's a pleasure, and I'm quite honored to have you back onto the show, especially on such a great milestone that we're celebrating today. So today's topic is all about crop production systems and nutritional farming practices or nutritional health. And, you know, I think it's quite an opportune time to discuss this, especially around sustainable crop production systems, because what we have in the industry right now is that a lot of the input prices have gone up. You know, they say fertilizers have gone up by 60%, kind of squeezing the farmers' margins. And a lot of farmers are doing panic buying fertilizers in advance because, you know, there are delays in getting fertilizers from abroad. So I want to know, from your perspective and what you've been seeing on the ground for the past 2-3 weeks or a month, what have you picked up with regards to the agri industry, where prices are concerned, and where should farmers look out for? And most importantly, with these red flags, if you may, how can we start farming more sustainable?
Mbali, yeah, I think I think it came as a bit of a shock in the last 3 months. Input cost in South Africa there's a tremendous rise in the cost and the inputs that farmers need to face. We're talking fertilizer, we're talking seed, we're talking diesel, fuel costs. And we're expecting quite a huge increase in fuel next week already in South Africa. Planting season is started in the northern parts of South Africa, and in the Western Cape they're going to start harvesting the wheat. So it really comes at a very tough time. And also on the demand side, the marketing side, we don't see that huge demand. So I think there's not only are we seeing pressure on prices in selling the product, but also in the input prices. So it's going to be tough times ahead of us. But yeah, the world is changing. The world will keep on changing. It's how we adapt to it. I think that's the important thing. And I think your topic is very valid tonight about the sustainability. I mean, and that's where we need to get around the table and start making plans.
Absolutely. So what are some initiatives that we can start adopting as farmers? Like, do we cut down on our fertilizer consumption? Do we move in the more organic way? And, I know sometimes this is such a contested topic because when you're farming commercially with thousands and thousands of hectares, you really want to meet your tonnage per hectare. And especially as a maize farmer, you might know this. And so what are some of the, innovative solutions that we could get around this and curb these high prices in input costs?
Mbali, what we've picked up in the Morgenstone area, where we're currently running a project on a farm there, is that in the area there seems to be quite a lot of farmers that's converting from maize into soyas. The big idea behind that is that your input cost, especially from a fertilizer point of view, your need for fertilizer is much, much less on the soyas than what you have on maize, and what a lot of soya farmers have been doing in the last few years. And I think it's a standard. It's probably been a standard practice. It was new for me, but I mean, they keep seed back from the previous year. So immediately, if you don't need to pay for your seed, if you can keep some of your crop back from the past year and use it for seed for the following year, and your demand for fertilizer is less, your input cost tremendously. It comes down tremendously. Obviously, you still have your running cost on implements and fuel. That'll never change, and your labor cost doesn't really change. But I mean, if you probably look at the cost now, you'll see that fertilizer and seed makes up probably about 60% of your production cost currently. If you look at maize and if you would look at maize, so yeah, there's good alternatives. So I think that's the kind of things that farms are actually doing, trying to looking at alternatives. We've even got a little project going where we say, well, let's plant a bit of cash crops, some vegetables, while we're just after we finish planting our soyas and our maize. If we have some time left on the farm and we have some resources left, let's develop 10 or 20 hectares of cabbages as a bit of a cash crop to help us on from a cash flow point of view as well, and to carry some costs on the farm. There's no reason why you can do it. On that specific farm, there is some water. The Ermelo region is fairly well known for good wet summers, and obviously that's going to assist with growing some vegetable crops on that farm, just to help the cash flow. So I think what you've done in the past is not necessarily what you're going to do in future. What you're going to do in future, you need to look at alternatives and what else can you do to sustain the farm and obviously increase your turnover on the farm. You have the resources, you have the tractors. A farmer working with maize and soyas, obviously he's not going to be busy full time with all his staff 12 months of the year. There is definitely some opportunities to do a few other projects on the farm as well, and try and see what they can do on increasing the turnover on the farm.
Yeah, and obviously cash crops are quite nutritional, and I know that you're quite close to the market and understanding market prices and trends. Which kind of cash crops right now are getting good prices at the market, and which cash crops are maybe suffering at this stage?
Yeah, from a vegetable point of view, we're seeing there's quite a lot of onions around the market. I think it's got a lot to do with the demand that's not there. Butternuts has had a very good run. The prices on butternuts is coming down quite quickly. Potatoes also had a good run on the market in the last two months. That's also coming down, but still to a level where it's not bad average prices to have. Most farmers will take those prices any day. On potatoes selling for 55, 60 rand a 10 kilo pocket, which is great prices. Obviously, coming into summer, we'll see with the good rain they're forecasting for South Africa and the northern parts of South Africa. A lot of rain doesn't necessarily mean good. It's not good news for vegetable farmers. So we might see some prices on certain crops, your cabbages and things like that. That's susceptible to diseases, tomatoes, things like that. When we have a lot of rain, probably December and January, then some of those crops might increase. But again, everyone's going to be affected if we're going to have a wet season ahead of us, and that might definitely influence the prices going forward. Obviously, the Western Cape had a very good grain season that just passed, and those farmers will be in a better position where they probably won't have that in the Western Cape. So, that is an ideal opportunity for some Western Cape vegetable farmers to look at crops like peppers, tomatoes, more higher value vegetable crops.
Yeah,
especially for the window January, February, March, when we normally have a lot of rain in the Brits area, in Limpopo and northwest. Brits will normally struggle that time of year with certain crops because of weather. We saw it last year, we saw it this year, earlier this year, and we're probably going to see it again next year.
Absolutely. Those are very valid points because I've definitely experienced those seasons. Dawie, before I ask you carry on with our conversation, I just want to encourage people that, they need to share this live video and comment below on any crop health benefits so that you can have something to celebrate in this very special episode of the Farming Podcast as we've reached a milestone episode of episode 100. So please do comment and tell us what crop do you know and what's its health benefits so that you could win your 500 Rand cash prize. So we do have a team that's on standby that's looking at some comments right now, and we definitely want to announce a winner. So come on, guys, please do engage with us. Send us comments on the comment sections and let us know about your crop so that we could announce your name and that you could win 500 Rand in cash prize. Dawie, you mentioned something about the Rand-dollar exchange at the moment, and that if you're a farmer, another way, to make your farm sustainable, especially around crop production, but this is on the selling part, is that, you should look across the borders because of prices at the moment. What are the type of favorite crops that are in demand from an export level?
Mbali, if you're going to have a look where all the growth in South Africa was from in the last, say, 10 years, you'll definitely see citrus has been a big mover in South Africa. I think it's important just to touch on that point that you mentioned about the crop and the cost. Now, it's a fact that we are net importers of agricultural inputs in South Africa. So we actually farming in dollars, or our inputs is dollar-based inputs. Now, if you're only going to sell your crop locally and earn rands from it, obviously you're going to start getting into a position where you can't cover all your costs. So, and I think part of this success in the citrus industry was that even though the inputs are all dollar-based, but the income from those farmers from an export point of view was also dollar-based. So they could actually absorb all those extra costs and additional costs that they had to attain for. There's huge, exciting opportunities happening in China for us. I believe the lemon and the citrus market is expanding into China. The avocados is not too far away from the exports into China. A lot of our berries and nuts, they're also getting into China. The demand in China seems to be fairly strong and it keeps on growing. And it gives great opportunities for South African farmers because we're in the southern hemisphere where we counter season to what's happening in China. So the demand for our crops is going to be exactly when they don't have it in their own market. So I think the growth is probably going to be, and where farmers need to look is on the export crops, the berries, the nuts, and the fruits. That seems to be exciting markets. Cherries is doing fairly well from South Africa. There's some exciting projects happening with that. Yep. But other exciting things that we saw in Ermelo. I never knew it, but Ermelo is one of the earliest apple production areas in South Africa now. I associated apples with the Western Cape, but there's no reason why you can't have early apples out of Ermelo.
Wow.
So it's really great opportunities for farmers in that region to diversify. Obviously, the input cost and your return on your investment takes a bit longer on fruits and nuts and berries. It's not as quick as a cash crop, but it definitely creates some opportunities for farmers.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. Apples in Mpumalanga, which is, relatively known as the Highveld region. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes. But I think it's got to, they get enough cold units out there. There might be even opportunities with things like berries out of that same region, because the cold unit, it's cold enough. Out of the Ermelo region, my Mpumalanga region, it's cold enough. I also believe there's some exciting work being done on early low demand apples that's actually been grown in Limpopo. There's definitely been some developments in the Mokopane region with some early apples as well, and in the Polokwane region. So yeah, I think things are changing. We need to change with the times.
Absolutely, changing with the times. And if you're listening tonight, Dawie has dropped some serious gems on the different type of crops you could start growing so that you could get a good return on investment within your farm. And also he also shared some tips in terms of how you can make a farm sustainable with very high rising input costs at the moment. But quickly, Dawie, before we end our conversation this evening, I just want to mention that without wasting any time, our first winner is Bianca Comps, and she is from Facebook. So congratulations to you, Bianca, but you have to comment before the end of the show so that you could win your 500 cash prize. Tell us anything about your crop. What have you planted? What is it that you like about it? Nutritional benefits, health benefits. So please, Bianca, comment before the end of the show so that you could claim your 500 Rand cash prize. And as I said in the beginning, that I'm sharing some of my best moments from the show. And the second episode, or the second favorite episode that I enjoyed was having a farmer named Silondiwe Nxumalo from Izimpande farming in KZN. And she's a chicory farmer. If you don't know what chicory is, Google it. But in simply put, she's a coffee farmer. And it's not every day that you meet a coffee farmer. Chicory does sound very niche and complicated to grow. And what I liked about her is that she's a new farmer into the space, and she thoroughly is enjoying what she's doing. She's had corporate partnerships where the corporate client has not only given her an offtake agreement, but also has given her some technical knowledge on how to grow chicory to the highest standards within her region. She shares such an amazing journey from humble beginnings and how now she's successfully growing chicory and trying various alternative methods to increase her production year after year. So that was episode 49, a young female farmer based in KZN, and her name is Silondiwe Nxumalo. And I remember we also had her back onto a panel discussion around women in farming or so. And, she had some really, really good advices for women in farming, for young women in farming, and especially women in her region, and how they can, gain access to this thriving industry, wonderful industry, and most importantly, how to just grow your farming enterprise. So, Dawie, before we let you go, I just want to know. I know you mentioned a few tips earlier on in terms of how farmers can hedge against these high prices, and we focus more on crop farming. But any advice that you could give to farmers, maybe who are livestock farmers, who are also saying, feed is going up. They could have heard you say, diesel is going up, and the transport costs from transporting feed from one place to another is also expensive. So what tips can you give to livestock farmers, maybe to cut down costs, to farm more sustainably? Do they start growing their own maize? Do they start growing their own feed? Do they research that? Maybe just if you could give us some few tips before we end off the show with you tonight.
Yeah, I think, Mbali, the first thing that comes to mind is, especially in the wet year that we're expecting this summer, and we already started seeing early rains in some certain regions in South Africa, Limpopo and Mpumalanga. It creates opportunities for especially cattle farmers to go and plant some extra feed, so you can start up building your feed reserves for winter. Now, obviously, the maize farmers, I can only imagine that they will keep on looking and buying more animals for the winter to eat from their to feed from their rest. So I think the weather is going to be in our favor this year for things like pastures and for feed, for animal feed. So make use of the opportunity. We're not always going to have this great opportunity, free water. So use it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dawie, for your insights today. And thank you once again for being a friend of the Farming Podcast. We thoroughly enjoy your knowledge and expertise. And it's great that we know that there are agri specialists and consultants like yourself who are willing to, share some knowledge, because farming can be a very lonely journey, because we have to deal with so many elements as we run our day-to-day businesses. But thank you for your time this evening, and all the best with your 2 projects in Ermelo and Gomati.
Thank you, Mbali. Good evening.
It's a pleasure. That was Dawie Visser, who is an agri specialist consultant, and he's running 2 projects within Ermelo and Gomatiport, grain and cattle farming, as well as vegetable and citrus. So we really spoke about sustainable methods around crop production systems, and also some nutritional benefits, and obviously if you farm vegetables and citrus, those are definitely nutritional crops to have in your farm. And what I liked is that you also shared some valuable tips for not only crop farmers but also for livestock farmers, and how you could really be innovative and try to cut down costs in your farming operations. Now, to more exciting news as well, my team has just let me know that our winner, Bianca Comp, has claimed her prize. So congratulations to you. And her comment, if I could read it, was that soybeans are high in protein and are a decent source of both carbs and fat. They are rich in source of various vitamins, minerals, and a beneficial plant compounds. So for this reason, regular soybean intake may alleviate symptoms of menopause and reduce risk of prostate and breast cancer. Who would have thought? So thank you so much, Bianca Comps, for your comment and for your insights as well. And she puts there hashtag episode 100, hashtag the farming podcast, hashtag know your crop. So thank you so much, Bianca. And you walk away with 500 Rand in cash prize. Before I announce the second winner of the show this evening, I just want to mention my last favorite episode of the top 3 that I've mentioned tonight. I started with Wagyu beef farming, which is episode 97, and then told you about episode 49, where I spoke to Usilondiwe Nxumalo. And the last one I've got picked up here. And just by the way, this is not me choosing any specific favorites, but I enjoyed all the farming podcasts, because you get to speak to just amazing people that we have in this industry of ours. And I think the one that also stood out for me is Uzamuguhle Twala from Agri Cool. He started farming on his, I'm not sure if it was his own backyard or on a small plot, but, really struggled as the time went by to just keep abreast of the costs involved in farming. And also he saw an opportunity in the market where a lot of farmers were really desperate to find market. And he thought, maybe let me quit farming and rather help the farmers that already exist in the industry by helping them find market. So he definitely used his skills and talents of selling and marketing. And that's how he founded Agri Cool. And I know a couple of weeks after having him onto the show, he had won a significant prize with a competition that was running with a JSE listed company. And I think he walked away with about 1 million rands, and I'm sure that was extremely beneficial to his business. And Agri Cool has become one place where a lot of farmers are now relying on just to get their produce out to consumers. So look out for Agri Cool on social media, and maybe if you're a farmer and are struggling with market, maybe reach out to the Agri Cool team and see how they could market your product. So as the show comes to a close, I'm happy to announce the second winner, and I believe they're also from Facebook, and it's great to know that the second winners, the 2 winners tonight, are females. And the second winner of tonight's show is Tembi Marilyn, and her comment was, rice health benefits may help maintain a healthy weight. Brown rice protects against chronic diseases. Hashtag know your crops, hashtag episode 100, and hashtag farming podcast. Thank you so much, Tembi, for commenting. And please, you walk away with 500 Rand cash prize. And that's as simple as that. This was your Know Your Crop farming competition that we have running, where you tell us about the crop that you're currently growing, all that you know of, its nutritional benefits, its crops benefits, and why you like that crop specifically. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Both our winners, Bianca and Tembi, have now claimed their prizes, and that you that they walk away with 500 Rand. So thank you so much for watching our 100 episode, and we look forward to the next 100 episodes within the Farming Podcast. Maybe we might do a bit of a spin-off, have more more engagements, more panel discussions, maybe be more on the field, who knows. But send your comments and suggestions if you would like to see some more dynamic content on the Farming Podcast, because at the end of the day, this podcast is for you, to equip you and empower you with farming and agri knowledge. That's it from me tonight, and look out for our episode on Thursday, and I will see you then. Take care.